President Buhari engages security chiefs on internal security and protection of the nation's territorial integrity.
Federal High Court sitting in Abuja orders suspension of Bauchi State governorship election results collation.
Senate approves 30,000 naira new minimum wage for Nigerian workers.
And on Good Morning Nigeria today, we shall be engaging guests on the third and final part of our series on the political class and effect on Nigeria's democracy. Since the end of the general elections a few weeks ago, many Nigerians have surprisingly not blamed the electoral body as much as they usually do in the past. Even with the cases of inconclusive elections and suspensions in one state, instead, people have been pointing accusing fingers at politicians and their excesses for the almost failure of the process. In fact, many politicians have themselves been openly critical of the political class on the issue. Kingsley.
That's right, Juma. The fact that many politicians are open to any means to take power, and the fact also that the majority of the masses aren't so enlightened, often would make it easy for them to be manipulated to abuse their votes. Now, this is why political scholars and indeed other observers say that democracy cannot thrive anywhere until there is widespread education and enlightenment amongst the populace. So, is Nigeria's democracy, as it were, on trial? And when did we get the system to where it is today, and how? What should Nigerian politicians do on their own part to put the nation's democracy on the right path? And what role does the Nigerian youth play in the future of Nigeria's democracy?
Somehow, Kingsley, many young Nigerians have lost interest in who and how they are governed. Most now seem to be more interested in how they can get a piece of the national cake from politicians, throwing money about during elections without reflecting on life after the election. Now, how can the most populous country in Africa get her democracy right? We shall be interacting with guests in the studio to give insight into these issues. Kingsley and I and many other Nigerians have raised on Good Morning Nigeria very shortly as we enter into our third and final conversation on the topic, political class and Nigeria's democracy. I am Juma Yusuf. Welcome you to today's edition of Good Morning Nigeria, reaching you live on the network service of the Nigerian Television Authority.
All right, and I'm Kingsley Osadolo. I join my colleague Juma in also welcoming you to this edition of the program, in the course of which we shall have our regular companion segments and this newspaper review, business, sports, foreign, and others. But in the meantime, let's take the highlights of our news this morning with our colleague Claire Adelabu Abdurazak. Morning, Claire.
Hi, Kingsley and Jumay. Good to see you. We're beginning the morning news this morning with security matters. And President Muhammadu Buhari has met with security chiefs at the State House. The meeting summoned by the President was attended by the Minister of Defense, Masood Ali, National Security Advisor, Babagana Munguno, Chief of Defense Staff, and all the service chiefs. Also in attendance were the Inspector General of Police, Directors General, Department of State Services, and the National Intelligence Agency, as well as the Chief of Defense. NTA News, however, gathered that the security chiefs were engaged by the President on their roles and responsibilities in maintaining internal security, as well as protecting the nation's territorial integrity.
And also, the soldiers need to be really supported so as that the worry situation that we are can become a history.
This time around, again, when we went round, we promised them that we will continue with the agenda and security. Part of it is that I have seen some security chiefs and
And the Federal High Court sitting in Abuja has ordered the suspension of the collation of the March 9 governorship election in Tafawa Balewa local government area of Bauchi State. Presiding Judge Justice Iyang Eko ordered the Independent National Electoral Commission to appear before it on Wednesday for hearing on the main suit filed by the All Progressives Congress and its candidate in the election, Governor Mohammed Abubakar, who is seeking re-election. Meanwhile, Federal High Court in Abuja Court 6 bars INEC from resuming collation of the gubernatorial election result for Tafawa Balewa, pending hearing scheduled for tomorrow. Following the order of the Federal High Court in Abuja to suspend the collation of the March 9 governorship election in Tafawa Balewa local government, resident electoral commissioner in the state, Ibrahim Abdullahi, acknowledged that the commission has received the court order and is acting accordingly.
From continuing with the collation and subsequent announcement of the results of Tafawa Balewa local government as it affects the governorship race only. However, the state constituency election, results will continue to collect and announce the result as it affects the state constituency.
Away from election matters now, the Taraba state government has lifted a curfew imposed on Jalingo, the state capital. This was contained in a statement signed by the chief press secretary to the state. And the governor in the statement has directed all security agencies to intensify security surveillance and patrol, especially in the flashpoint areas of the state capital. And from the National Assembly, the Senate has passed the National Minimum Wage Amendment Bill. The legislators approved 30,000 naira as new national minimum wage for Nigerian workers. The report of the other committee also urged the federal government to put in place a new revenue sharing formula that will enhance the capacity of states to pay the new minimum wage. As it also recommends 75,000 naira as fine for organizations who fail to keep records of their employees.
The Minister of Finance and Budget and National Planning should, as a matter of urgency, compute and forward to the National Assembly for inclusion in the 2019 budget the actual amount required for the new national minimum wage.
This administration has fulfilled its promise to do this, give a new national minimum wage to the Nigerian workers, and it has fulfilled that promise.
And a bill for an act to repeal the Nigerian Law Reform Commission Act to pave way for reenactment of the Nigerian Law Reform Commission passed through second reading at the House of Representatives. Now, the bill forwarded from the Senate to the House for concurrence seeks to facilitate the effective implementation of proposed law reforms in line with present realities.
Mr. Speaker, this bill, if passed, will address delays in implementation of the Commission's report, challenges of inadequate funding, improve the administrative capacity, and enhance collaborations with other ministries, departments, and agencies.
And the role of the media in the sustenance of diplomatic relations among countries of the world has been identified as necessary for social, economic, and cultural growth of especially developing nations. Now, High Commissioner of Bangladesh to Nigeria, Mohammed Shamin Ashan, noted this at a courtesy visit to the Director General of the NTA.
I would be happy to contribute in every possible way to see that the people, there are more interactions between the people of Nigeria and people of Bangladesh.
The task of maintaining relationships between Nigeria and other countries is that of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, and NTA works hand in hand with the Ministry of Foreign Affairs.
And those are the highlights of the morning news. You can catch up with more news at 10. In the meantime, Kingsley and Jumaine will be back for Good Morning Nigeria after this break.
Team But we lost. Don't be tired, guys. This isn't a loss. It's a practice for winning.
Nothing makes a mother prouder than seeing her child growing up. But I know as he learns to lead, he'll face even more dirt, germs, and risk of illness.
That's why in changing seasons, you need strong Dettol protection. Because Dettol protects from up to 100 illness-causing germs.
Growing up needs Dettol protection.
When I was a little girl, I loved spending time with Mum and Grandma cleaning the house. I was so excited to sing in the choir. And your shirts are always so white. I knew what Mum's secret was. Today, I'm a modern woman that still trusts the secrets passed down to me. It's Jik, of course. The original trusted bleach, which can be used all around your house for amazing results. Shh, it's our little secret. It's no secret. It's Jik's best ever extra whitening power. Just Jik it.
If you hear a bomb explosion or gunshots of an active shooter, that might be a terror attack. At such times, always remember 3 action words. Run, hide, report. Don't try to run towards the terror scene to save the situation, because there might be a second bomb blast or another attack. Run far away and take cover. Make sure you are safe first. Yes, it is in our nature to sympathize over the hurt, but remember, only trained personnel can help in such situations. When in a secured environment, promptly call relevant authorities and help will come. For anonymous reporting, call 09630-3250-5 or 0813-2222-106. If you see something, say something. Nigeria unite against terrorism. This message is brought to you by the Federal Ministry of Information and Culture.
All right, now for our business news, let's join our correspondent, Kalo Mohammed.
No going back on forex ban for importation of textile into Nigeria, says Central Bank of Nigeria. Reacting to queries over the rationale behind the policy of the Apex Bank, the governor, Godwin Emefiele, told newsmen in Abuja that strategic approaches had failed to yield the desired result in the past, as recalcitrant businesses resorted to sharp practices and therefore shortchanged the country.
And 80s and 90s in this country. Jobs have been lost. And that is why it's very important that we know that we cannot continue to be talking about the fact that there's unemployment in our country, whereas we ignore an industry that used to be the largest employer of labor in Nigeria after the public sector. We as Nigerians, or anybody that is interested in the progress of Nigeria, should not allow this to continue, because we need to create jobs for our people. Today, duty on textiles is 45%. I have a data here that tells me that textiles officially imported into Nigeria in 2015 is $9 million. In 2016, $6.9 million. In 2017, $7 million. And in 2018, $9.7 million. Is that the quantity of textile that came into Nigeria these years? My answer is no. And yet people say they pay duty. My answer is no. Because if you pay duty, then we will not be having official records that places import of textile not legal into the country at just about $9 million. We need to confront dumpers. We need to confront smugglers in this country. And the sooner we do so, I think the better for our country.
Data from the bank reveals that of the 180 textile companies that existed in Nigeria in the 1970s and 1980s, only 15 are operational, resulting to massive jobs and revenue losses. Meanwhile, the federal government has been urged to make the capital market the pivot of its industrialization agenda and economic development in a bid to urgently lead the country out of poverty. This was part of the resolutions at the third annual budget seminar of the Securities and Exchange Commission, with the theme Budgets, Elections and Capital Markets, Risks and Opportunities in 2019. Acting Director General of the Securities and Exchange Commission, SEC, Ms. Mary Uduk, said government budget affects the economy and the economy in turn affects the capital market. And now, a quick check on how the equities market fared on Tuesday. And that's business news for this time. My name is Kula Muhammad. Thanks for your time.
Thank you, Kalo. Next on Good Morning Nigeria is our newspaper review segment.